I'd like to call the council as a whole committee to order. Tuesday, June 8th, 2010. Councilors, we have a couple items on the agenda, but before we get to them, I would just a couple of comments. One is everybody received a packet on your desk tonight from the superintendent of schools. That packet and that information will be discussed when the superintendent comes before us. He just felt that since he had it completed, he wanted the councilors to have it as far in advance as he could get it to us, so it was delivered to us today. Second is, after we get through our items tonight, we will have a discussion with the mayor and Mr. Saracen regarding Smart Growth 40R monies. And thirdly is that Mr. Stevens has sent me a letter asking that during our budget discussions that we try to refrain from using individual names and we talk about positions as opposed to personalities that fill those positions. And the fourth piece is, tonight we had community development on the agenda, which did consist of economic development, housing, planning, and building, but with the reorganization that we discussed last week, there is no longer community development, and economic development, housing, planning, and building have all been discussed under different categories. If you have questions on those tonight, we could certainly address them, but it leaves us with only one department in that group that has not been spoken about during the budget process, and that is recreation. So we will address recreation department on page 48. Someone here to speak? Good evening.
Good evening.
Mayor, Mr. Raschuti, any comment before I go with the numbers?
Yes, Kayla would like to say something to you.
I'd just like to read a department overview. The Fitchburg Parks and Recreation Department is as diverse as the community it serves. As in so many other aspects of life, the key to running a successful department is having the ability to strike a balance between young and old, tradition and innovation, and the needs of one versus the needs of many. The Fitchburg Parks and Recreation Department will provide essential services, facilities, and programs necessary for the positive development and well-being of the community through the provision of parks, greenways, trails, and recreation facilities, while working in cooperation with other services to provide the community and overall maximize our resources. Our employees continually strive to honor the past while embracing the challenges of the future, and to strive and to serve an entire community while maintaining meaningful connections with individual participants. The Recreation Department is currently staffed by the Recreation Director. The seasoned employees of the past include 1 playground supervisor, 14 playground instructors, and 2 water attendants. The Parks and Recreation Office is under the control of the Board of Parks Commissions, and it serves as the manager of all public parks, playgrounds, and recreational programs that the City of Fitchburg offers through its control. Facilities are available for all leagues that wish to use them and are approved by the Park Board through the Recreation Director. In the past, Andy Roy has done an excellent job in establishing the positive reputation of the Recreation Department, and I look forward to building off of it. The Recreation Department has provided numerous opportunities for the community through the continual support and encouragement from the community as well as the City Council members. Some main focuses of this year include to increase advertising for increased participation in all programs, to add additional programs to the current ones existing, and to continue to look for grants in order to offset our costs, and to maintain as well as increase the connection with the community.
Thank you. On page 48, councilors, we have personal services, $70,787. Recreation expenses, $17,150. Pool and splash park, $7,200, for a total budget of $95,137. Councilor Reynolds.
Just one comment. The difference in this budget between this year and last year is basically, does it come down to one figure here, the summer grant program? That is less this 29, call it 30,000 for the summer grant program?
Yes, that would be the main difference.
And can you discuss the summer grant program, what's happened, or are you eliminating it, or was it a grant that the city received and we no longer receive it, or what?
I believe, Mayor, is that the food program, the grant she's talking about?
The budget only references a particular grant program. There's a number of other grants that the Parks Department works with through other departments, such as the summer feeding program. The one that you're looking at specifically in the budget, the $29,000 from last year, that was a nationwide, one-time youth jobs program that the federal government put out, and then that was allocated to the state, and then our share was $29,000. So we took that opportunity to save money last year by utilizing that to replace, even though it funded the same purposes, the money we usually fund through recreation for parks supervisors. Now that $29,000 could have gone for anything. It could have gone for additional youth jobs or youth jobs that were in the city but not funded through the city. But we had just chosen that it would provide a one-time opportunity for us to save money. And we, of course, crossed our fingers that we would get that year after, in future years. That was not the case. Anybody at the State House will tell you that they've gotten a lot of lobbying for additional youth summer jobs. It's incredibly important, but unfortunately, nobody was successful in getting those dollars. So we're looking to restore those funds in the city. We're actually being more conservative and more flexible. So you can see that we're not asking for the same allocation as we received 2 years ago. We're receiving for a little bit less. And that's because we have been pulling up our sleeves and working with other organizations to figure out how we can get coverage in as many parks as possible, but through other programs that other churches or the community college or even the schools might be offering to minimize the amount of money that we would spend via the city. But there has been there hasn't been any cutbacks in the summer programs ever. We feed over 10,000 kids. This is really the biggest way to keep kids off the street. Several of parks, there's hundreds of kids that go through those parks every day. It's really something that's integral to the city. I wouldn't want to see the city without this type of program. And frankly, for $20,000, if we think about the amount of children that we're serving, that's pretty huge. And in terms of the impact on public safety, in terms of the impact on the students, it's pretty big. This is really the feeder system in which other agencies, other organizations have often come in and helped take kids on field trips or helped do tutoring or help them keep active by organizing sports. So this is the biggest pot of money in which we connect with most of the kids in the neighborhoods during the summer.
Just thank you for your explanation. And this is a year-round budget, right? The specific summer budget is $7,200 for the pools and lifeguards and all of that.
The playground supervisors are also part of the summer budget. The majority of items in there are summer budgets, including if the pool was funded, that would be a summer budget.
Councilor Joseph?
Just, it appears that we haven't gone backwards, right? This is probably just level funded, and everything that was funded last year, or every program that you ran last year, you plan on running again this year. Now, does that include recreation trips and things like that that were always posted here, that were special events that were put on by the Recreation Department, New York City, different events?
We did that in conjunction with Leominster. Leominster and Fitchburg got together and ran trips, yes.
That's going to still happen?
Yes.
And will you have a car?
We're kind of like hoping to.
Okay.
Yeah, that's up for discussion. Right now,
there is no vehicle available because we transferred the vehicle to another department. So, and we also don't have a system in place for mileage reimbursement. So right now, Kayla is operating, frankly, from the goodness of her heart until we can find a vehicle and or put a mileage reimbursement in place. But that hasn't, just because of who she is, that hasn't hindered her commitment, her ability to do her job, but it is something that we need to rectify.
And special events is civic days?
Yes.
There's still be an involvement, is there still, what is civic days?
Well, it's the special event line item, it is more than civic days, but the bulk of it is things like the softball tournament. The recreation department typically picks up the T-shirts and the trophies and other incidental items. And then there are small things throughout the year that it goes for, from the concerts in the Common to other incidentals. It's typically been a small amount of money. Actually, a lot of the money for those events would typically come out of this budget, and you would see this be in the tens of thousands. But things like the concerts in the Common, we often go after and ask banks to donate. But, oftentimes there's a $25 item or a $50 item or so, and those add up, whether it's, the need for a speaker or microphone or some other incidental that comes up during all the events that they put on.
This year, even though it's only the splash park, we haven't gone backwards in what we're offering this city this year.
Correct.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you, folks.
Thank you,
Thank you.
councilors.
Councilors, I would like to offer the mayor the opportunity to address you regarding the smart growth 40R funds that are in the budget, and how we're going to proceed with that. Annette?
Well, let me explain the situation. On Friday, June 4th, the state sent us the $600,000 40R funds. So you might think that that's great, but unfortunately, the way that the state accounting works is that actually, if you get money sooner, you can't spend it till later. If you get money later, sometimes you can spend it sooner. So let me explain exactly what that means, because it is counterintuitive. And
Madam Mayor, it's just plain crazy.
it is crazy, but we have state rules that we need to follow, and we can't spend money that's contrary to state rules. So if we had received the $600,000 on July 1st, then you wouldn't be hearing about this. We allocated the $600,000 in our budget, and it would have been fine to spend on July 1st if we were given the money on July 1st. Because we are given the money in this fiscal year, and this $600,000 was not accounted for in this fiscal year's budget, it means that this becomes part of free cash that we cannot spend until it's certified at the end of September. So what does that mean? It means some technical challenges, but in reality, according to the State Department of Revenue, it doesn't actually mean a heck of a lot. And let me explain it. So Dick did some investigations, and he spoke to people at DOR, and they basically said that your budget doesn't technically have to be balanced until you set your tax rate, which is when's
Probably in October.
October.
Or November. But
Free
we'll-
cash is certified in September, so if we make an allocation of the $600,000 then versus now, we would be okay. So I know it doesn't make sense, which is, we're allowed to make the allocation now if we get the money later, but since we got the money now, we have to make the allocation later. Again, crazy and counterintuitive, but unfortunately, that's what the state law dictates. So what that means is that even though the same revenues that I propose are going to be funding the same expenses, it just means that things are done out of order. And it also means that technically the budget that you'll be voting on, assuming that you don't do anything to it, that budget that I gave you is an out-of-balance budget. It is $600,000 out of balance, because we can't count those $600,000 until the end of September. So there are, there are crazy things that we could do. We could again, because it doesn't necessarily impact the budget at all. You could say, gee, let's cut 600,000 and then add it later. You know, add it at the same time that we allocate the 600,000. Or the DOR suggests that we should just proceed as normal and then just allocate the $600,000 when it's certified in September.
Can I
Yep.
Counselor Clark.
can I just add?
Yeah, go ahead.
In the way it would be added in September is after the, well, let me just say, the 600,000 will make the free cash at the end of this year that much higher, okay? Say it was going to be $1 million, it'll be $1.6 million. But, and it could be more or less, I'm not saying what that number will be at this time, but what would happen is the mayor would submit a council order to the council as an appropriation, charging the new available funds and crediting the tax levy. Now, that is similar to the order that has been submitted out of, for this year, for $250,000 of this year's available funds to balance the budget also. So there'll be $250,000 of available funds from fiscal year 10 money, and there'll be another $600,000 from fiscal year 11 free cash. Right? So it's more, as the mayor explained, it's more form over substance. We have it's nice that we have the money, as the mayor says, the treasurer can invest the money. We're going to get investment income from that money. It's just how we have to account for it. It's more of a technical thing. Fortunately, when you're budgeting, when you do your budget, you can forecast your reasonable expected revenues, which the mayor and we all did, but the money came in earlier, so it kind of throws a monkey wrench into the plan. So it's just a matter of another step that we would hopefully have the mayor and your approval before we set the rate.
Counselor Clark.
I was going to ask if there was any way that we could use the stabilization account to do anything, but given what Dick said, I don't think that's the case.
We wouldn't have to.
Right. Thank you.
Counselor Starr.
I think my question's been answered by Mr. Saracen.
Counselor Reynolds.
It sounds like this really can be handled simply, am I correct? But thank you for telling us about it, as long as we know. I just want to make sure that there's no possibility, is there, of that money being taken from the account, the free cash account. I mean, is it safely in the free cash account, earmarked only to be added at the end of September, or used at the end of September? Is there a safety factor there that the
Yes.
citizens have?
Because we can't touch it until free cash is certified. So in some ways, it does add a level of safety.
So there's no slip between the cup and the lip there. Is that right?
Yes, and also the other control is the mayor would have to send an order to the councilors for a majority vote of the council for the appropriation to occur.
And is anything terribly affected between the end of this fiscal year and September, when that's available, the end of September?
No.
No.
Not that I...
So
not
it's a
that I'm-
simple, thank you.
Counselor Joseph.
Just the technicality, are there orders that are going to be changed that have already been given to us as a result of the change?
Not based on this. There would, the only change is that there will be one additional order in September for the 600,000. But there is no order, there will be no change.
Counselor Reynolds.
I'm going to ask Mr. Saracen to please just explain that one more time so that we understand it thoroughly.
The point that I answered was...
No, this entire situation.
Because the funds were received prior to July 1st, they have to be...
The 600,000.
600,000 was received in June 4th, so it had to go as a non-recurring receipt in this fiscal year, in fiscal year 2010. That, all receipts, as well as all the unexpended monies that are over budget, that are excesses, get calculated when we close the books in August, and then later get certified by the state. After they review everything, they certify our free cash. So that 600,000 now is in the pool of money and unexpended budgeted monies that get calculated into the free cash. So now we have to wait till September to appropriate those funds. We cannot appropriate the monies from, the balances from fiscal year 10 until the free cash is certified. So as a result, we have to wait to budget, if you will, that receipt. The way to do that is through a council order appropriating the new available funds, $600,000, and crediting the 2011 tax levy. That's the new change. The old way was, it was a lot simpler, where we were expecting to receive the money on July 1st or soon, right after July 1, and all we had to do was show it as a projected revenue for next year, so it was already counted.
Thank you.
Okay?
Any other questions or comments regarding the smart growth 40R? Councilors, we are going to move forward to one more item. The mayor is going to discuss some funding for the school department, which again has a little twist to it, so she's letting us know right out in the open so that everybody can understand what will occur here.
Well, the state numbers can change, so when the state numbers change, that obviously changes our numbers. I think the most extreme measure was when, in the middle of the year, the state cut local aid by $1 million, and therefore resulted in a cut to us. There are a couple changes that are happening on the state level where there's no, thankfully, there's no service impact. Again, it just like the $600,000, it just means that we have to do things in a different order. Right before I submitted a budget to you on May 14th, the state cut Chapter 70 funds by approximately $750,000. They added back that money through stimulus dollars. So here's where things are accounted for differently. So it means that the state is still giving the schools the same amount of money, but instead of all Chapter 70 monies, it said we're going to cut your Chapter 70 funds by $750,000, but we're going to give you $750,000 in stimulus funds. That makes sense. So the school is the same. But the reason why there's an accounting issue is because Chapter 70 goes through the city for appropriation to the schools, whereas the stimulus dollars goes directly to the schools. So because that happened right before the budget, I cut the revenue side by $750,000, and then I cut the allocation to the schools by $750,000, so that they were equal. So it did not impact the general fund budget, but the numbers were less. So that was right before I passed the budget in, so I could submit that to you, and there's no accounting issue. So since then, the state has decided that we went a little too far. I don't know if they actually don't have that much stimulus dollars, because we were surprised to see that change. So the state says that of that $750,000, you know what, we're going to give you $278,000 more in Chapter 70, and then we're going to reduce your stimulus dollars by $278,000 to match. But because the budget is in your hands, that means that and because the school already approved our budget, it means that the city will be getting $278,000 more in Chapter 70 funds, which then, in order to appropriate to the schools to make up for their decrease in stimulus dollars, we would have to do a supplemental budget at some time when that number is confirmed. I'm almost afraid to do that right away, because if there's another change, it means that we all have to do the votes again. So, but that's the latest. So I'll take any questions regarding that, or we can, I can formalize that in an email once I get exact numbers.
Council Reynolds.
This was an unexpected occurrence, right?
Correct.
So what's to stop them from doing something that would also be unexpected in the future?
Nothing.
That's very difficult to deal with, is it not?
And that's why there's been a number of discussions here by both myself and counselors regarding the dependence on state aid, when those state aid numbers can change at any given time.
Thank you.
Any other questions regarding mayor's information? Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councilor Joseph.
I do have a question on a lot of the things that have caused a lot of commotion in our budget sessions. Will we, before we only have like another week, I think, before we start to wrap up, will we see any kind of change order or budget order or anything that will change some of the accounts that we've talked about, such as the library, the veterans, the city clerk's budget, or will we see a supplement that will make the veterans' budget accurate to what they need, the library budget accurate to what they're going to spend? Are we going to see a supplemental budget on the things that we've kind of seen happen over the last couple of weeks?
I can only give you a supplemental budget if I feel like there is funding associated with it. The additional funding that was given to the library and the veterans and so on were appropriate out of available funds. They were not on that date available to us during last year's budget session. So that will likely have to be the same. Because right now, in terms of what I can give you, the budget's in your hands. So I only have $23,000 in available funds. And frankly, that's the only pool of money that I can go to between now and the end of September, should we have any additional issues in the budget. So I don't really want to spend that down. And I also cannot presume what the council might cut to make that money available for my supplemental budget. And I already know that police are at the top of that list. So I'm not too worried about those additional funds. In fact, I think the verbal directive that I would want to get would be, we anticipate that these are areas that we might need additional funds, so we would expect you, Mayor, to do what you can to be fiscally conservative and try and save money wherever possible, such that when you come back to the council for appropriation out of free cash, maybe an aim would be to have it be less than last year. I mean, that would be what we would be aiming for. And I don't just want to give them the money. I would say if these are departments that have been over budget, then we need to tighten the belt a little bit more. If they really need it, they really need it, and we can debate it when I do the appropriation before the council. But I think it also gives the council additional time to analyze each of those additional expenses to see if that is the total amount that they need. Because just because they wanted, for example, an additional $50,000 last year, maybe they only need 40, maybe we'll ask for 60. It might be dependent on if utility rates go up or down. But there is going to be time, not necessarily in the next couple of weeks, that I would say is the best time for the council to debate that. It will come before the council again for additional debate. But in the meantime, I'll do what I can to keep expenses within budget, as I should be doing for everything.
Okay. Councilor Di Natale.
I have a question, Mr. President. Can the council, through an email to the city clerk's office, request a revision to what we've already put on the cut list? If we've already, like, for example, if there was something that I wanted to recommend be cut further that we didn't put on the list at that budget hearing?
Certainly, this body can make recommendations to be on that list at any time. You could make one today for a department that was here 2 weeks ago, Counselor, because it's just a recommendation that will be there at the end of our meetings that will be open for discussion.
Okay, because I just got the latest status C through May, so there's 11 months gone in the year, and all I'm going to say right now is I will be coming back with revisions for cuts because I believe I was a little bit too nice with the Board of Health accounts. Not to belabor the point, but through 11 months, we've spent $520,000. And if you use that projected spend rate, we're probably going to come in around $575, which is pretty much on target with the last few years, unless what I'll be told maybe in the future is, well, we're going to spend that other 160 in 1 month, which is not going to happen. So I was very generous with the cuts to those two line items. After seeing another month go by, the contract fees for rubbish pickup is going to underrun by $160,000. The sanitary landfill is going to underrun by $150,000. There's $310,000 of free cash right there that I would be recommending we cut so the mayor can put it in free cash, reserve account, or what the heck? Bring back a few more police officers, I don't know. So I just want to make sure that we can make revisions to previous cuts, because I'm going to go through this package tonight, and I'm going to look at everything I've recommended, and it's probably going to get upped. And anybody who tells me, well, with the exception of auditing services and whatnot, I know that gets accrued at the end of the year, or accrued at the end of the year encumbered. I'm not going to buy any argument that we're going to spend 26, 27, 30% of our budget in the last month, when 6 years in a row we haven't even come close to our budgeted number. So there's going to be more coming. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions?
Announcement.
Councilor Joseph?
The Ward 6 Citizens Meeting is next Monday, June 14th, 7 o'clock, St. Francis Church Hall, Sheridan Street. Thank you.
Anything else?
You adjourn?
Motion second to adjourn. All those in favor? Aye. We are adjourned. Thank you, councilors.